Alrighty, so I've taken a week to digest The Dragon Prince Season 5, and I was going through some reviews before sitting down to record this one, and I noticed people saying Season 5 is awful. Season 5 has officially ruined The Dragon Prince, or The Dragon Prince's magic has run out. Well, I'm here to tell you guys why they're wrong, because Season 5 is not only a great season, but it's the best season since Season 3 of The Dragon Prince. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? James here with another real review, and today we're talking all about Season 5 of The Dragon Prince. I'm giving you guys my full review, which will include spoilers, so yeah, spoilers ahead. If you have not seen all of Season 5, please go ahead, save this video to your watch later playlist, come back after you've watched it, and let's talk about what was such a good season of The Dragon Prince. Now, this was released 5 days early ahead of its original planned release date, which was July 27th, and when that happened, of course, you know, I was going crazy on my reactions, so if you've missed it, I have a playlist in the description below, and you can find some of those reactions floating around at the top of the screen, because I reacted to every single episode. Oh, and if you missed it, I also spoke with Ehasz, who is the co-creator of The Dragon Prince and lead writer of the series. He gave me an hour of his time, and it was a wonderful conversation with some amazing tidbits about Season 6 and Season 7. So here's how it's gonna go, y'all. We're gonna get into my positives, my negatives, and my final thoughts. But if you thought that this is the last video for The Dragon Prince on this channel, well, you'd be wrong, because I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my episode rankings, my season rankings. I'm giving you a tier list ranking of every single character in Season 5 and so much more. So you're not going to want to miss out. Hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell so you'll be the first one in the comments. And speaking of the comments, let me know what you think of Season 5 of The Dragon Prince now that we've had some time to sit down and really enjoy this season of television. And if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button, give this video a like so it can get in the faces of more Dragon Prince fans. Alrighty, y'all, well, let's get started. Season 5 wastes no time for our heroes and villains because there's really no time in between Seasons 4 and 5 that's skipped. We get started immediately with Domina Profundus basically getting the call from King Ezran to hopefully help them find Aaravos' prison, while we have Claudia and Terry with the map going to locate Aaravos so they can free him and save Viren. So there's a lot going on this season, including the Sunfire Elves subplot, which was very well handled this season that we're going to dive into in this review. But let's begin with the very first positive, and that's this. Season 5 feels like the Dragon Prince of old, while introducing fresh elements for this series that we haven't gotten before. One of them really is the fact that we are getting a more mature, dark approach to this series. In the past, of course, there were some lighthearted moments of plenty of fart jokes and things of that nature, but instead in this season they trade that for torture, violence, and a lot of uncertainty for our heroes. So there's a lot going on. It's a layered emotional experience that honestly really helps keep this series fresh. A lot of what we saw in Season 5 is what I wanted personally in Season 4. I'm sure you all can probably agree as well. There are things like Viren struggling with his mental health, his guilt, the nightmare sequences while he was in his coma. It all adds up to something that was a lot heavier in terms of emotion than I expected. And there was also a really good balance of tone in this season. Now, there were some really good chunks of humor. I laughed in some scenes and I was enjoying myself. And then there were some moments of uncertainty where I felt dread. I felt sadness. I was not overjoyed, and instead I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders when they were threatening the very existence of some characters. It was hard to watch as a fan, but in a good way. So there were so much, I would say there were a lot of things they did much better in Season 5 compared to Season 4. However, Season 4 for me is made better in retrospect because of Season 5. There's good setup for this current saga that we're in, the mystery of Aaravos, which again was confirmed to last through the final season of the series, which is Season 7. There's a lot that goes into Season 5 that really helps me get excited for Season 6. And where I feel like this season hits on all cylinders is episode 4, which I think is now my favorite episode of the series. It's the culmination of all the great writing we've become accustomed to in this series. There's wonderful direction, animation, and action. The stakes are higher than ever, and there's a lot of, again, uncertainty. I think that's a common denominator in this season, where nothing is set in stone or in sand, because we were spending a lot of time by the ocean. And I think there's a lot of emotional beats that really work very, very well. And it does help that the animation, again, is much better than in season 4. So let's kind of like skip ahead to that, because I loved how the lighting, the shading was for our characters. The movements were not always so smooth. I want to say they were still a little robotic, similar to season 4, but it wasn't as noticeable. So for the most part, the animation really was hitting on all cylinders. I do think that the backdrops were really well done and well animated, especially Scumport, even though I have thoughts about that episode. We'll get there, but I really thought the team did a great job, and maybe it's because they had a little bit more time. Season 4, as we know, was mainly developed during the pandemic, so it was hard to have that artistic collaboration, something that Ehasz spoke to in our interview. But man, I gotta say, like, the dragons looks great. The battles were so fluid. I mean, gosh, I just think there was so much going for the animation in season 5, and I loved it. This season probably includes some of the best directed and animated action as well that we've gotten since the season 3 finale. So if you were looking for a lot more in terms of battles, violence, you're gonna get that here in season 5, especially with Finnegan on his ship. Yeah, we all know what happened there. The ice blood bending. It's awful. But now, guys, I want to get into our cast of characters, because I was very happy with how our characters were developed this season, especially some of our main characters and their storylines. Let's talk about Rayla, because I want to start there. They're my favorite ship in this show, and I love them together. There are a lot of people I'm learning that do not like Rayla, but for me, I love them together. There's so much to love about them, and there's a lot of relatability in Callum for me as well. So when it comes to Rayla, I know we were asking for a lot of Rayla moments in season 4. We didn't get that, okay? We got one at the very end, but it wasn't really considered a full-on Rayla moment. But in season 5, it feels like Ehasz and the team really were intentional about developing their relationship further. And I have to say, I loved what they did by giving them a little bit of reconciliation between one another. We got the conversation in the Great Bookery with Rayla and Amaya. That helped provide us, the audience, with a little bit more closure on why Rayla did what she did. We got moments between Callum and Rayla, where Callum, in, of course, the castle in Catolis, where he said, I trust her with like every fiber of my being. I mean, he didn't go that far, but in a nutshell, he said that he was giving boundaries to Rayla, letting her also process some trauma. And I'm not gonna lie, I loved how Callum addressed the coin situation. He forgot all about the task at hand because he wanted to go and help Rayla get her parents out of those coins. And how cool is that? And I think that is mature, that's growth, and these characters are still very young. But man, I just loved all the time we got with Rayla this season. And if you had to ask me, in that moment during the Great Bookery showdown, where Callum says, I just want you to know, and then Rayla gives a little Han Solo moment, says, I know. Well, I think Callum was going to tell Rayla that he loves her. So, hey, I'm telling you, I know it's going to happen, but I think by season 7, we're getting an Aang Katara kind of moment, and it's going to be so beautiful and make us all squeal if you're a Rayla fan. Then this show did something that I didn't think would be possible, which is make me a sort of fan of Viren and feel bad for him. I never thought in a million years, guys, that I would come to you and say that I kind of feel bad for Viren this season. The man was in a dark magic comatose state for most of this season, but during those moments where he's not really responsive, we get nightmare dream sequences with Viren, and it was chef's kiss. In my opinion, those sequences where we're in those nightmare moments with Viren and he's processing his guilt, and there are parallel moments between reality and those dream sequences, it was arguably the best narrative work in this show. I've not seen anything like this before in The Dragon Prince, where they deal with things that people deal with in real life, which is guilt, trauma, wanting to go and rectify your own mistakes, almost repentance as well. And Viren as a character just had so many layers exposed this season, and I loved it. And I thought it was really what elevated this season past, I don't know, an area we haven't seen before since season 3. And then there's Claudia and Terry, and guys, I'll say, I've come around on Terry, because I empathize with Terry. He was trying to do everything to make Claudia feel better, but I gotta tell ya, Terry needs to leave Claudia. And the reason I say that is because by the end of season 5, Claudia goes full-on villain mode, and I think Terry's not gonna have it, and I have a funny feeling, it's a theory, maybe we'll get into it in a future theories video. I think Terry's gonna be the one to conspire behind Claudia's back, because he's gonna realize, Claudia, you're gonna try to take over the world, so you gotta kind of go. But the way I empathized with Terry this season was how he just wanted to make Claudia feel less anxious, feel better. And Claudia was receptive to that up until the very end, where she kind of got her leg cut off, right? I mean, not kind of, it happened. And that's as a result of her actions. So Terry, I think, is starting to realize that maybe this is becoming bigger than himself, and he's on the wrong side of history. However, Claudia, the character work with her was really well done this season, because she was really struggling between being soft and tender and also being ruthless and getting Aaravos out of that prison at all costs, because she wants to save her father. Now, do I agree with her? No, you should not free Aaravos from that prison. But man, the character work was great, and so was the voice acting. Racquel Belmonte's voice performance in this season is the best among the entire cast. It was incredible. Yes, Erik, Dellums, Jason, Simpson, you have Jesse Inocalla, and then you even have Paula, Burrows, and Jack the Sena. They all have amazing chemistry, but they also all deliver. So the voice acting overall was excellent. It was aces. But Racquel Belmonte, for me, well, hers was my favorite. And that's kind of been the case for a while now in The Dragon Prince. I've realized Racquel Belmonte brings such a unique performance to the character of Claudia, and it just elevates this character. I mean, if anyone else took the reins of Claudia, I don't think it would actually work as well. So yeah, Racquel Belmonte definitely gives an A+ performance here. But there were also some other voice performances that I really liked here, especially from characters that were either new, familiar, or we haven't really seen them take the spotlight like they did in season 5. Rena Anakwe as Queen Janai did such an amazing job this season, especially with the fact that she's now struggling with having these nightmares, figuring out what Aaravos told to Kessa about Queen Aditi. It's so wonderful to see how Janai was given much more love this season, but also that Sunfire Elves plot was handled even better than before. Yes, I was mad at Kareem. Yes, I was mad at Pharaohs, but I have a feeling they're building up to something really, really important for season 6, and it could be the downfall for our heroes, but we'll talk about that in a future video. I again, loved what she did with Janai. Now, there is another character here that was really mean and really kind of scary that I do want to talk about. Lara Sadiq, who voices Kimdale, or as some of us know her, the Blood Moon Huntress. Oh my goodness gracious. I was terrified, I was scared, she was sinister, she was ruthless, given major Azula vibes, and I thought, oh my gosh, Kimdale's gonna destroy everyone. And you know what? She very well might destroy everyone, and that's my thing about this character. I hope they bring her back in season 6. I'd have to imagine they will, even though Aaron Ehasz declined to answer that question. I think that they will bring her back because not only is she still technically bound by that necklace that Queen Aditi, you know, forced upon her in exchange for a favor or something like that. It was in the short story, but oh my gosh, Lara Sadiq, like, girl, you were nuts in this season. I was getting chills, okay? It was insane. So yeah, Kimdale's appearances in season 5 were warranted, but they were made so much better because of Laura Siddique's voice work. And another character I want to point out, basically because of the library episode in episode 4, is Kazi, who's voiced by, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, Ashlika Edmond. She did such a great job, and I actually hope we get more Kazi in later seasons because it's just such a pleasant character. She's just so wonderful, and yeah, I'm a big fan of libraries, so it's always nice to have someone who understands. So in terms of the voice acting and the cast, it's been excellent, as we know, but in season 5 it just felt on another level for me. It was so cool. But I do want to move on to the next positive here, and that is how the lore was expanded, and that's due in large part to the episode where we first meet Akiyu. And Akiyu is an archmage who doesn't look like an archmage right now, but in the past, of course, hundreds of years ago, Akiyu looked like she could deal some damage. But it was just so dope in that episode to expand the lore, understand more about Zadia and the human kingdoms, and it was incredible because that's what I kind of wanted in the Dragon Prince season 5 is more lore. I do love the universe that they build and the world that they're continuing to give more layers to. And it also helps to have all of this narrated by Julie Lemieux, who did a great job voicing Akiyu. It was giving Yoda vibes in the best way possible. And all of this really just builds up to that finale in Season 5, which was, whoa, it was nuts, y'all. We got Viren to wake up, we got Claudia's leg cut off, we have the Aaravos' prison now with Team Callum, and Team Claudia is struggling. They're probably going to go after them real hard now. But the fact that Aaravos told Viren, you got to sacrifice your child. And here I was thinking, oh boy, it's going to be Soren. It's going to be Claudia. No, it ends up being the homunculus. Sir Sparklepuff, the being, is their child. Yeah. And this moment blew my mind. However, it was really interesting to see Viren say he won't do it. And that almost triggers Aaravos' sinister side all over again. The man knows he's one step ahead of everyone, but I wonder if he even saw this. Aaravos he's got something up his sleeve, maybe like a plan B, but Aaravos is as sinister as ever, and I loved that they ended season 5 the way they did because it sets up for an incredible season 6, and we already got confirmation that we're getting more Aaravos in season 6. So guys, I think that's the season where Aaravos gets let out of his prison. Now, before we get into the negatives, I want to talk about one more positive in this season, and that is the score by Frederick Wiedemann. Yo, it is unreal. Now, if you are a fan of the channel, you understand I love musical compositions, scores in film and TV. It's some of my favorite things to pay attention to because it just can add another level of experience and immersion if done well, and Frederick Wiedemann does it very well in season 5. In season 4, you guys remember, my favorite part of season 4 was the score, and in here it's aces all over again. There's so much to talk about and rave about. I mean, even though I didn't like the Scumport episode too much, that track, Welcome to Scumport, was incredible. There's a lot of the score and the musical choices that we get in battle sequences that just adds to the feeling of tension and dread and uncertainty. So it's amazing. Honestly, it's great work, and he's up there with the greats, in my opinion, currently working today. Like, if I had a bundle, right, of great composers currently working, I mean, off the top of my head, I can name you maybe like 5 or 6. And I would say Frederick Wiedemann is right there with them because he is just incredible at what he does. And I'm so glad he's going to stay on for season 6 and 7 because, guys, we're going to need some amazing music to finish this series strong. Alrighty, y'all, so now let's get into the negatives. Now, with a show that I love so much like The Dragon Prince, it's tough to talk about negative things, but we got some notes that I want to get through, and let's begin with this. There's a lack of love for some of our favorite characters this season. That might just be the elephant in the room, you guys, because I'm kind of shocked at how little attention was paid to Zim, Soren, Aaravos in this season. Yes, Aaravos gets his time to shine in episode 9, but it is very interesting that over the last 2 seasons since the start of this saga, The Mystery of Aaravos, we've only gotten Aaravos in 2 episodes. So it's not great, but I think the outlook is reassuring, especially knowing now that this saga lasts into season 7, And Aaron Ehasz said we're getting more of Aaravos in Season 6, so that's really good news, and it makes me okay with the fact that we got him in just one episode. At least they're not overusing him, but it would have been nice to see more of Aaravos this season. And when it comes to Zim and Soren, it's a shame because Soren got one of the best moments in the Season 4 finale that I think I can remember from Soren himself. I mean, rallying the team to push the door open, it was a great moment. But we don't really get that this season. We actually don't get much of anything with Soren, except for poop jokes. That's not great. And perhaps the biggest point of confusion for me in Season 5 was the lack of King Ezran himself and his character development. The first few episodes of Season 5 really do set up King Ezran for being this more mature king that we kind of all were hoping we'd see since he assumed the mantle, and we know he's still a kid, so you can't expect him to just go and be like his father, King Harrow, and he clearly wants to be different than he is, so that's great, or he was, rest in peace. But I thought we would maybe get more Ezran this season. Sure, he got some love in Scumport, where he rescues the Baitlings, Sneasel, Hat, and forgetting the other one. Sorry, y'all. Correct me in the comments. But I just thought that there would be more Ezran here, and it feels like maybe we've hit a bit of a stumbling block with his character development because I don't necessarily think he's changed since Season 4, and it's not great. But it does give me a bit more hope knowing that there are 2 seasons left of the series, so I am really looking forward to seeing what they do with Ezran in Season 6. And you know what? I am hopeful that they will give him the character growth and development that he's probably needed since Season 3. Now, these next few notes are talking points that I had in my reactions, but I wanted to kind of expound here in this review. So, Finnegan. This is a character I thought would be a lot more impactful. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with Finnegan and how they handled him this season. While he was fierce, and yeah, he had sinister moments, sure, the way he tortured Callum and the way he tortured Rayla, I thought that was really, really scary, honestly, for someone who has been such a fan of those characters, but I didn't think that Finnegan had any impact on me as a viewer. Like, overall, in the grand scheme of things, I thought that Finnegan kind of came and went very quickly, and I didn't necessarily think the way they introduced Scumport had much lasting impact. It was a little underwhelming. I thought that maybe they would linger there a little bit more, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And according to Aaron Ehasz in my interview, he said that we should not be expecting Finnegan in Season 6. So it sounds like Finnegan's gone, y'all. I mean, he did get fed to that Leviathan, but still, not necessarily the best execution for this character. I was expecting a little bit more. I'm also confused by the lack of archdragons, you guys. Listen, we're getting them, but we're not necessarily seeing them often. Zubeia is around. We know she's around. She's infected. The Mushroom Mage maybe didn't necessarily heal her permanently, but that man helps. So, Zubeia is here to stay. Well, at least I think she will be, at least through Season 6. I don't know if she'll make it to Season 7, but that's a video for another day. Dominia Profundus for me, though, or Domina Profundus, excuse me, was hyped up so much before this season. There were teases to this new Ocean Archdragon and how we've seen her in the past in flashbacks, but now we're seeing her in present day, and oh, she was animated so beautifully, and it was an amazing moment in the season premiere, but that's it. We did not get Domina Profundus again in Season 5, and that kind of baffled me, because this is a dragon, a character that we were all looking forward to, and there wasn't necessarily much that she did except for make a grand appearance for 4 or 5 minutes and reveal that they can't tell Ezran where the prison is, but I can tell you what it is. And that was a cool tease, but wanted to see Domina Profundus a lot more in Season 5 than we did get her. I mean, I just wonder if they're maybe building to a bigger finale in Season 7 where all of these archdragons that we were once introduced to come back to help fight against Aaravos. I can see that, and that would be kind of cool. And the last note here is the poop jokes. Well, okay, maybe they weren't that bad. It was still pretty bad in the moment, though. I won't lie to you, but at least they weren't running jokes, so the humor was an A for the most part, but this moment, the poop jokes moment, I'm like, don't take away Ezran's scene, okay? We don't get many scenes with him this season, and they decided to use Soren as the butt of a joke, so didn't love that moment. But again, I'm glad it wasn't a running joke. So the writers and the team, they definitely took our feedback when it came to the fart jokes that they used very often in season 4. But guys, it's time now for my final thoughts, because while those negatives, I would say they're valid, right guys? It's just the pros outweigh the cons this season. And this season is truly an amazing season of television on its own, but in the grand scheme of the Dragon Prince, it's the best season since season 3. It was very well paced, the action was superb, the animation was more refined, and the character moments had a lot more emotional weight and impact to them. I loved the focus on Viren, Claudia, Terry, Rayla. I loved all of the attention to detail and the way that they handled the more mature tones in the season. It just adds up to a mature experience. And yes, Netflix changed the rating to TV 14, which I don't agree with, but this is going to be a season that we're going to look back on and think, whoa, what a shift from season 4 to season 5. Now, do I think that there are some areas where they can improve in season 6? I do, and I think it has to do with balancing the character focus and where we're giving our time to. Now, that maybe comes with having more episodes, but it seems like they're going to continue this 9-episode season approach. And if they do that, then they're going to have to find a way to weave all these storylines together. This season, I thought they did a good job of that, especially with the Sunfire plot, which was much better than season 4, but I think that they owe themselves a little bit more runway each episode to develop some of these characters and give them the justice they deserve, like Ezran, like Soren, for example. Like, I want a little bit more focus in those areas. But for the most part, I really enjoyed this season, and if I had to give it a final season rating, well, I did the averages across 9 episodes. The total for me adds up to 4.05 stars out of 5. Now that was very exact, and I promise I didn't use my physical calculator for that. My Texas Instrument graphic calculator, it ran out of batteries, okay? But this season truly is a B+ for me. It's so good, it's so enjoyable, and you know what? It's more rewatchable than season 4, so I can't wait to dive into it again and deliver you my ranking for every episode, for every season, my tier list for every character, and so many more videos on the way, including some theories that maybe you, the real friends, and I can collaborate on. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that and hit the big red button below. Subscribe to the channel and tap on that bell, y'all, and leave me a comment and let me know if you agree with my review of season 5 or if you disagree, because again, I loved this season of The Dragon Prince, and no one can convince me otherwise. Not even you, troll, wherever you are. I'll just, I'll try to ignore those reviews because I'm sorry, y'all, but The Dragon Prince is here and is here to stay, y'all, okay? So we're getting so much more, I'm guessing, in season 4, and I can't wait to see it. So again, y'all, thanks so much for the support on all my reactions. That interview with Aaron Ehasz was excellent, my top performing video in so long, thanks to you. And we're gonna make sure that we keep talking about the Dragon Prince because, hey, the season might be done, but I'm not. So I can't wait, y'all. Alrighty, again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Whew. Seriously though, I need a jelly tart recipe. I want a jelly tart.